A very good evening, everyone present here. I, Zai Rajesh Shirke from NASM, would be your host for the day. We welcome you to the Masterclass hosted by Nagindas Khanwala College, NKC, Malad West, Mumbai. Founded in July 1983, it is one of the best colleges in the western suburbs of Mumbai. It has been imparting quality education since the last 4 decades. The college is affiliated to the University of Mumbai and is re-accredited by UGC NAC with an A grade. The college has shown tremendous growth in a short span of time and has been conferred with the autonomous college status in 2016-17. Today's initiative is by NASM, a specialized sports management educator. It is a part of the education group that has been offering its services since last 20 years. It has collaborated with multiple universities, colleges, and institutions in India and abroad to provide the specialized industry-relevant education services. It has collaborated with Nagindas Khanwala College at Mumbai, Vivekanand Global University at Jaipur, Swarnim Gujarat Sports University at Gujarat, and the Dubai Vertical under the name Nest Academy of Management Education with Bolton University, Dubai. Today we are in conversation with Mr. Vipin Nambiar, AVP Business Development, Alliances and Innovation at Procam International Private Limited. And we're going to discuss about sports and brands, a magical collaboration. Mr. Vipin Nambiar has done his management degree from SCMS Cochin and has also done an executive program from IIM Calcutta. He has over 15 years of work experience and a passionate salesperson, business and marketing communication expert with a blend of experience in business development, brand management, advertising, marketing, and client services. He has also worked with companies like Times Group, India Express, Asianet Satellite Communications Limited, and so on. Currently, his company, Procam International, has been the driving force behind the growth and development of sports management in India. Envisioned by founders Anil and Vivek Singh, Procam is one of the leading companies in holistic sports management, sports consultancy, and live television programming. With astute planning and exemplary execution, Procam has a track record of conceptualizing and promoting over 100 international events across disciplines like powerboat racing, cricket, football, tennis, distance running, squash, WWE, horse racing, volleyball, and more. It is our pleasure to have with us Mr. Vipin Nambiar. The platform is open to you, and for our students have been eagerly waiting to hear you. Also, sir has got us a quiz competition, and you can expect to receive goodies at once you win the same. In order to answer the questions, you really need to be quick and mention your name and batch along with your answer. So I wish you all the best, and the platform belongs to you, Vipin sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Zai. I think that's been an elaborate introduction for me and for my company as well. Thank you for having me here, and it's been a great pleasure to share my insights and whatever knowledge I've gained out of the last 15 years, be it media sales or sponsorship sales. So I would like to touch upon this aspect of how sports sponsorships are leveraged. I have a small presentation deck to be shown. I'll take you through the whole point which I want to share and share the insights and have a one-to-one discussions post the presentation. I hope you can see the deck. Hope you can see the PowerPoint presentation. Zai, is it visible? Is it visible? Can I start? Yeah, as I mentioned, I would touch upon this unique collaboration called Sports and Brands, and it's a wonderful collaboration to have because for every sustenance of sports activities, sports events across the world, be it a FIFA or an IPL or be it anyone, you need to have a strong sponsorship based model and strong sponsors to support it and to grow along with it. So just to touch upon about the credentials of Procam. Procam is a 31-year-old company having done a lot in sports, including Tata Mumbai Marathon, the TCS World 10K, the Delhi Half Marathon, the Calcutta 25K, and various other sports like grassroots cricket tournament called Coca-Cola Cup, then became the Parley Cup, and various other programs in the field of athletics and so on and so forth. So we pretty much are known in the industry as the pioneer, or a pioneer in the running revolution in the country. And of course, seated the international sports called power, and we won power boating in India. So that's a gist of our company called Program International. So just want to set the context here. What is sport? What is the power of sport? Uh, it's beyond our imaginations. Sport unifies the world like no one else. Various other verticals like music or literature, or be it any TV program, or be it any OTT platforms. But sports as a at large and as a whole combines the nation, combines the world as a strong unit as together. So power of sport is is more than anything else. It can redefine nation. It can uplift communities. It energizes youth like nothing else. You can transmit a message to the youth through sports very easily. It boosts economies, and it promote tourism. Large events like FIFA or IPL, or ICC World Cup or NBA, or anything which is large in nature, uplift the tourism aspect of that particular country. Uh, Once Nelson Mandela have clearly mentioned that sports is more powerful than governments in breaking down racial barriers. He has wisely used Rugby World Cup as one of the backdrop to unite the country between the blacks and whites. There are clear demarcation and discrimination between the two communities. He used the World Cup Rugby in 1995 to unite the nation as a whole. So power of sports is beyond our imagination. It unites, it unites like nothing else. Uh, so my topic is about leveraging sports sponsorships, and how there's a magical blend between sports and various brands. So here I want to touch upon this, four brands which have really stood the test of the time, supporting sports. Globally, if you see the large four brands are Rolex, Red Bull, Etihad, and Emirates. They have built the entire brand image, the entire brand equity, the entire brand pull, and whatever they have in terms of goodwill, and the brand pull for the particular brands is made out of sports. And uh, in return, they have supported the best of sporting events, and has helped that particular event to grow to the scale which we have seen. Be it Wimbledon, be it FIFA, be it anything else for that matter, be it motorsport and so on and so forth. They have really stood behind the sports to grow it to whatever level you can see it now. And in Indian context, we have brands like Tata, from the very first Olympics team contingent which went out of India was sponsored by Tata, and whatever they have done out of sports is a remarkable case study. Sahara, supporting Team India, Indian cricket for a long time, resurrecting the hockey culture in India. Hero, you can see they are supporting big time football, through ISL and various other sporting events, and of course, celebrating the whole essence of sports. So these are the 4 to 8 brands from an Indian and global context that really are created landmark case studies and supported sports like nothing else. So what are these people chasing? Why are they invested heavily on sports? Because the sports fan, be it you or be it me, or it's anyone who's supporting a team or a country, or anyone who's running and is very much vested in that particular sport. They all have something called the fan base, or the the emotional attachment to that particular sport. So a fan is very emotional. They are very highly dedicated. They are highly loyal, very passionate. They're crazy. They travel throughout the country. They travel across the borders to spectate one of the world's best events. Their favorite sports personality, and they at times become irrational, right? So the brands are chasing these fans. Hence there is a blend. So if you further delay the sports fan, they're the most converted crowd in the world. They are the highly invested crowd in the world, and hence they're easy to influence. This audience are easy to influence because whatever they give, they give back to the sport. Their time and energy out of the 24 hours, they park their time and energy towards sport. Every single day, right? Be it a Barcelona fan or a Man U fan. If you're a Barcelona fan, you are a Barcelona fan throughout your lifetime. If you're a Man U fan, you will die as a Man U fan. That's how emotionally connected they are. So that's a fan for you. So straight away jumping into the first question. Uh, the first question is, again, I touched upon, briefly about Nelson Mandela, uh, which is that movie which was created out of that particular story of South Africa winning the Rugby World Cup in 1995, and the story of Nelson Mandela uniting the entire nation using the rugby. You have 10 seconds to go. Time starts now. Time's up, guys. Hope Jai is getting the winners by now. The answer is Invictus. It's a brilliant movie by Morgan Freeman and Matt Damon, and it's one of the best case studies in the world of sports. You must watch it if you're a sports fan. So moving on, so I want to highlight 10 aspects in an ideal marketing mix of optimizing the brand values. I termed it as 10 mantras to successful sponsorship. So which are they? So they start from the belief factor in sports. Uh, Beautiful experiences created out of sports. Hence it has to be experiential. Amplify sports, sponsorship opportunity using your 360-degree communication channels, be it TV, print, radio, PR, etc., etc. Technology facelift that's happening across the world of sport. Of course, you need to create micro moments or my moments, with your fan base, individually with everyone. The broadcaster plays a larger role in uplifting the sports. You need to use them, leverage the sponsorship using the broadcaster. Community as a whole, how do you engage with the community? Community is a far larger word than just a fan. Of course, you need to give back to the society. How do you engage with the society in a larger manner? Social impact plays a huge role. Inclusivity factor, how do you touch base with your customers and at the same time your employees, your B2B customers, your fan base, your family, etc., etc. And of course, sponsorship is all about return on investment, that marketeer, with certain belief. So belief and ROI connects each other, right? So a certain return on investment he has to garner at the end of every sponsorship, so that you can come strongly the next year. So I'll explain it through the presentation individually for every single point. So the convergence happens. The intersection point is about understanding the values of sport, which are uh, various. It could be anything. It is about the positivity, which raises out of sport, the commitment, the never say die attitude, coming back from failure, really the resilience, best effort basis, fun, the respect, humility, teamwork, and so on and so forth, right? It's much more than that. I can only count up to this, but it's much more than that. And what are the brand objectives? When they do any kind of sponsorship, it can be a musical concert, it can be sports, it can be anything. Brand objectives remain to be these 6 7. It is uplifting the corporate awareness, building a corporate image. It could be employee relationship. Internally you create a brand. The best place to work with. That's how you create employee relationships. The brand equity, which you garner out of the sponsorships and the advertising and the do good the do good factor you do in the society. The community relationship, the leadership statements, and of course, it should end up with some sales, benefit for the company, right? So if these are the two touch points, where does the intersection happen? The intersection happens at the belief factor. You need to really believe in sports to gain the best out of sports. There's nothing called a short-term approach in sports. Sports has always been cultivated, nurtured on a long-term basis. Be it Rolex and Wimbledon, be it Manu and its set of sponsors, or be it ISL and Hero, or be it a Tata and Tata Mumbai Marathon or Delhi Half Marathon sponsored by Airtel. Everything is for a very long period of time. You need to really believe in the sport, and you need to really believe in the community to gain out of sports. So the first point being really believe in the community called sports. Second, I briefly mentioned about experiential. You need to create larger experiences with the fan. You need to connect with them very in depth. To create long-term memories. They need to have a belongingness. You need to have connection, in-depth connections with the fan. You need to create emotions, awareness, and affinity. How do you do that? When you do that, when you create larger experiences, when you create one-to-one experience with your customer, with your fan base, etc., it becomes shared. Whatever your advertising be, or your publicity be, or your promotion be, at the end of the day, if something called a word of mouth, if somebody says that this particular brand of car is really good, they really stand by their words kept in the advertisement, etc., then such experiences are larger than your advertising and various other publicity. So you need to create larger experiences by means of using the sponsorship values. It adds value to the life of a customer. It should it's clearly express the benefits which a customer can gain out of the sponsorship or particular brand, etc. Right? You need to listen to the customer to create a larger experience. So everything is experiential. When you create larger experiences, your platform becomes shareable. Your idea becomes shareable. Say, be it sharing on social media, or be it maybe a one-to-one conversation, etc. It creates larger conversations around it. The second question here for you guys. So how many title sponsors we had? We are speaking about sponsorships here, and then magical collaborations of brands and sponsorships. You have 5 seconds or 10 seconds to answer this. How many title sponsors were there for IPL till date, and who all were there? Time starts now. Time up. The answer is we had 3 sponsors till date. Those were DLF, Pepsi, and Vivo. Hope I think at this question would have had most of the answers. Because, we all are big fans of cricket, right? So the answers were DLF, Pepsi, and Vivo. The third very pertinent point is, how do you amplify your opportunity when you get a chance to sponsor some events? How do you do that? It's not just about getting that logo sponsorship on a chest of a sponsor, a chest of a team, or or maybe a couple of logo visibility opportunity in the collaterals, etc. But it's about how do you amplify and create retail promotion options, or create advertising out of it. How do you package your products well with the sponsorship you have? How do you have larger employee engagement programs? How do you do customer relationships? How do you do digital promotion out of it? How do you create content out of it for the whole calendar year out of the sponsorship? It can be like an IPL. It's a window of 45 days, right? How do you create larger content opportunity for 365 days to engage with a fan very constantly? So how do you create loyalty program for your customers? The sponsorship helps you to achieve all of this if you achieve a larger long-term objective using sports. So here, globally, the ratio is 1:2. What is 1:2? Uh, if you invest in, gaining some rights, or invest in a sponsorship opportunity, be it any sports for that matter in the world, you invest 1 rupee for the sponsorship, and you need to invest 2 rupees for the amplification. Supposedly, if you are investing 100 rupees to gain, or to gain a currency, or to get rights of FIFA World Cup, you need to invest 200 rupees to amplify and reach out to the best of the sports fan across the world, right? Emirates does that very beautifully. Even a customer, even an audience or a fan who's based in Calcutta or Bombay, or be it in Kerala, through Arsenal, they beautifully amplify their opportunity associated with the team Arsenal, and beautifully get across to their fan base, which are worldwide, right? Which spread across the world. So that's how you need to invest a lot of money to use or leverage the sponsorship investment you made. The other pertinent point is it's also about 360-degree communication. You need to use your all the channels. Omni-channel presence has to be there, be it Insta pages, or Facebook pages, or Twitter conversations, or LinkedIn conversation, and Facebook conversation, etc., etc. It is to have, use TV for betterment using advertisements, etc., or print or PR, whatever that is. Using, fan connect, using the players you have, using the, endorsements you sign with certain top players, etc. You need to have a 360-degree communication, and not only that, you need to create content and make it available for 365 days. It's not about, not just about 360-degree communication. It's about 365 days also. So the other point which I want to emphasize here, and post-COVID world and during the COVID world also, technology is uh, really uplifting the game or experience which we have, right? Technology is helping out to reach out to every single sports you want to watch, and it is there on your screen, right? Be it OTT platform like Hotstar or Netflix, or content created out of Amazon Prime, etc. Technology helps you to get the best out of content for sports. Technology not just give you the best content, it helps you to create good micro moments and my moments for the fan. Apps and fantasy leagues are a great example. Team 11, the fantasy leagues you play out of IPL, or the Premier League app, which you can create your own teams, and you can have sell players, bring players, etc., etc. Be on a winning team, and the goal scored, etc. You gain points. That's how get engaged on that 6 to 7 months of EPL being played, or one month of IPL being played. You get very constant engagement with that particular sport, right? And with the advent of technology, uh, uh, sports have become slowly moving towards an error-free world. Referees and umpires are getting the best use of technology to give you the best decisions, be it you know six being hit, or a kind of a run out being made, etc., etc. The Hawkeyes and the goal line technology are bringing in the world of sport completely error-free. And individual performances of the athletes, be it a Ronaldo or Messi, identifying their strengths and weaknesses, the opponents, how are they tackling them, etc. And identifying the movements they make, the opponents move they make. With technology, you can identify the large behavioral patterns. And of course, the coaches and the training and the other supporting staff can give you the best of guidance throughout your game, throughout your career, right? And of course, it helps you tracking best of the movements, the best of the performances, where you're going wrong, etc., can be tracked, and you can be the best of it using the technology. So tech will enhance three major aspects. Best fan engagement. The fantasy leagues are the great examples for this. Athlete performance, to a great extent, it's improved a lot from the last 10 years. Targeted sponsor fan engagement, as I mentioned, a Barcelona fan sitting in Calcutta can have a direct to device, DTD means direct to device, direct to that particular, kind of user. If he's based in Calcutta, you can have a communication in Bengali, or if you're a Malayali, you can have a conversation in Malayalam. That's the enhance of technology that can bring in to have your targeted sponsor campaign, very filtered kind of sponsorship campaigns, which your sponsors can have with your fans and their customers out of them. So one such example which I want to kind of take through you is the network of care what we have done for Airtel for the Delhi Half Marathon. What we have done is Delhi Half Marathon is a half marathon route. We have 2-3 categories between 10, 21, and 5K. Uh, we have given a very great, very customized experience for 3,000 plus runners on that particular day, because like tennis, running as a sport is a very individualistic in nature. When you run a half marathon or a full marathon, you are all alone. You can start with someone else, but when everyone has different pace and speed, etc., etc., it's pretty much a single-handed game, right? You talk to yourself a lot. You need to motivate. You are the only motivator for you. Even though there are 100 cheering fans on the streets and various other spectators, we have created a very nice experience using the microsite, etc. We have created a microsite to share a cheerful message for your friend. We have identified there are 45,000 registered participants in Delhi Half Marathon. Uh, Through this microsite, we have garnered 3,000 plus videos. If you are a friend, family, house, a wife, or a husband, etc., who was taking part in the between half marathon and 10K, you can send them a cheerful message. This is how we have done it. You can record the message and upload on a microsite. And what we have done is, we have gone to every single of them through the expo. We have created this video booths in the expo where they come and collect their bibs. And on that particular day of ADHM, we have created, we had a secret surprise in store for every single runner who got a personalized video from their family, friends, coach, and various other people. So this activity has started, well before the race day, maybe for 30 to 45 days before the race day. Those who have identified or shared a message or, across the microsite, we have reached out to a larger audience across Delhi, the NCR, other states like, Punjab, and, we have gone to Bangalore and identified and recorded a message, a surprise message from their family member, very secretively. The runner himself doesn't know about this. We've recorded, collected it. These are the various emotions you have seen. Through the social media and through the microsite, we have collected a large, base of messages recorded for the particular runner who's running ADHM. And on the race day, we have large mounted screens on the route. We had three such large screens on the course of between 10K and 21K. And we had a surprise for them because suddenly when when we have the timing match and a chip behind that bib, which is the chest member, and when they stepped on that particular mat in front of that particular screen, the personal messages which was recorded by the family member, which was at the right time, which they need a particular motivation, or they were down during the race, they need to buck up. Suddenly they got a surprise saying that the family members wishing them. Without the invent of technology, this wouldn't have been possible. And I'll tell you where the brief was coming in from Airtel. When they crossed that area, this particular video was played, and Airtel created a digital film out of it. And that campaign performance went, touching, breaking all the records of erstwhile campaign performance of Airtel. Cumulatively, we had around 51 million reach through YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram channels. The whole talk of the town and the conversation points were very positive. Whenever Airtel tries to launch a campaign or have a conversation on their social media handles, pretty much the conversations are being around this. मेरा network ठीक नहीं है, signals बराबर नहीं आ रहा है, and so on and so forth, right? But this time they've achieved 80 to 90% of positive conversations happening throughout the social media conversations. So the takeaway from Network of Care campaign was, Airtel slowly want to position themselves as a tech company from a mere telecom company, right? So using the advent of technology, they want to showcase their large offerings, which they can offer the customers. They want to be a network where when people is in need, they want to bring out that emotional factor and the brand connect with every single household, family member who are being a registered participant for the ADHM. And throughout that campaign, they have reached out to a much larger audience. And of course, bringing that technology into forefront of their offering of Airtel and the engagement. Right? So connecting all this factor, we have created Network of Care, and it reached out to a larger audience, and that created very much very in-depth emotions with the brand and with that of the registered participants and runners and their family members. The other point, which is very dear to me, how do you create micro moments? Being in the large sponsorship area like a FIFA or a Tata Mumbai Marathon or an IPL, you need to create that one-to-one conversation or create that one-to-one experience with your fan. How do you create that? As I mentioned, the fantasy leagues in the second screen is a great opportunity because 75% of your time goes in to watch a live program, etc. Right? But around the larger space like a Mumbai Marathon or a FIFA or an IPL, you need to create such kind of opportunities for a mini version of the game, or with your sporting icon, etc. You can create such moments to understand or create better engagement opportunity with that particular customer, with that particular fan, and that becomes very dear to you, and that creates long-lasting memory for your association with the sport. And in running or cycling, your family can track you throughout your live experience, and that builds a huge amount of reputation for the brand in the interest of the people. So similarly, what we have done for Mumbai Marathon is, we have created an inspiration medal, and that became the world's first inspiration medal. When you run a full marathon, this was only meant for the full marathon as a category. When you run a full marathon, it's about 8 to 10 months of hardcore training. You need to have a support system between your coach, your spouse, or your mother in the family, or your son, your pacer, etc., etc. And the whole ecosystem works for your full marathon. So you always have that person who stood behind you when it comes to a full marathon kind of training and that effort, which is about running 42 kilometers, which is not an easy task. Uh, so we clubbed two medals. We kind of made two medals out of one medal, and it looks like one medal. When it was forced it apart, it becomes two medal with a medal with two lanyards. And soon after your marathon, you get garlanded by this unique concept called the inspiration medal, wherein one belongs to your finisher, which you finished that 42 kilometers, and you get that finisher medal at the end of every race. So you get one medal for your efforts and one medal for your inspiration's effort. So you can go back to your home and your coach and garland that inspiration medal. And unbelievably, this has created a lot of positive conversations in the world of running, and in the whole world of running, not just India. uh, you know People going back to and meeting their kids or the coach and their teachers and so on and so forth, and giving that garland, that particular inspiration medal, that you are, thank you being the inspiration in my life. uh, this particular kind of a ritual uh, became very evident after every single Mumbai marathon. As I mentioned, people have gone to the social media and were talking about their story, about who's the inspiration, who has been your strongest support in your life. It can be a colleague who got into running. It can be your father who got you into running, or it can be your son who got you into running, and so on and so forth. Or it can be mother who cooked nutritious food for you. She's been a great inspiration for many. So this, what we have noticed is, post Mumbai marathon across the country, 7,000 of, and more, this time we had around 10,000 full marathoners, uh, more than 7,000 people. This became a ritual in the running clubs, garlanding the medal to the coach. So the takeaways are my moment, creating a large my moment here, and organic post that was being created using the inspirational story. And what happened is, whenever you post something on the about the story of your inspiration, the other person who is getting garlanded, he or she has another story to tell. How do you influence that particular person? And that really has become an inspiration and aspiration. What happened is, like, when somebody is enrolling for a full marathon, they really have the story in mind, that to achieve that particular inspiration medal, and let me have that inspiration story to be told to the world, saying that he is my inspiration and here is my story. So that became a real great story using the TMM inspiration medal. Quiz time, guys, again. uh, so the question is very simple here: who's the official timekeeper of Wimbledon? And you only have 5 seconds. Time starts now. Very simple question. I have touched upon during the earlier slides. Your time is up. The answer is Rolex. Hope most of them have got it correct here. Before I move into the next point, which is about broadcaster, broadcaster plays a large amount of role building the sport. Certain sports you must have seen happening throughout the channels like Star Sports or Sony, ESPN, etc., which might not be having enough traction by means of viewership like an IPL or an ISL, but they still stand behind that particular sport and cultivate the sport, and try to build it from the grassroots level, right? There are certain niche sports like motorsport or F1, etc., etc. You have very niche audience. You don't have viewership like an IPL or FIFA game, etc., etc., or like an EPL, but they still stand behind that particular sport and kind of nurture it. So we in the sporting parlance, we keep saying that if it is not live, it ain't sports. So broadcaster plays a primary role in building sports. You can have the best of brand integration using the broadcaster. So you need to really use or leverage the reach of a broadcaster to reach out to the wide, far reaching audience you have. If you hadn't have broadcasters supporting a FIFA, or right from 1980s or 1970s, People who are sitting in India wouldn't have seen the best of sports happening across the world, right? Best of the football, or best of the cricket, etc. So broadcaster plays a major role, and every sponsorship you need to use the broadcaster to reach out to a wide, larger audience. So interestingly, what we have done for TMMS, what we have done is we have created a fam cam. This is the 100% screen which you see on the screen right now, wherein we cover the live sport, which is the elite sport on TV from 7 to 10. Wherein we created content for everyone who's participating in the marathon. What we have done is like a 25% bar on the below of the screen, wherein we mounted a camera on the finish line, and we captured everyone who finished the race, be it a full marathon, a half marathon, or a 10K participant. We created a family moment. You can sit back, relax, and watch the live at home, and identifying the estimated time your husband, spouse, father, brother, anyone who's participating in the race with an estimated time of finishing, we can watch them or her finishing live. So what happened here is, when the live happened between 7 and 10 p.m., it's not an ideal prime time. But what happened here is, we have seen a growth in the live viewership, because 15 to 20 minutes is the average a person who has been in front of the TV, because to see someone of his favorite family member watching it live. We've got a TCS app, which you can live track the performance of the runner and its estimated time, etc. And the usage of app has been on an increasing number ever since we have invented this particular innovation on the team. And the technology supremacy of TCS, and they have sponsored this particular innovation. So it all blended, creating a micro moment using the technology, etc. And using the broadcaster support. We have not just the 50,000 participants from a Mumbai marathon. We have reached out to a larger audience and larger family base using this particular innovation and using the mighty reach of Star Sports. The other example or an ideal marketing mix to have is the community. You need to really build the community around the ecosystem around sport, around that particular sport, around create a larger community and a fan base for your larger audience. You need to really develop the community, and when you develop the community and you create a larger audience, and you can have that ownership and guide the whole communication which you want to target to the target audience. The other one is the eighth point, which is not so light as a point. It's a very, very, very pertinent point. It's about social impact. How do you give back to the society? Procam has created a strong pillar called charity over the last 17 years of its existence in distance running, and we have benefited 750 to 1,000 NGOs, raising over 4,400 crores from charity from the runners, and towards 100,000 odd causes. So through sports, you can have a great charity platform. It helps you to have becoming a pillar for nation building, and of course, you need to invest in grassroots program to have the future stars. You need to create budding talents. Be it a Duti Chand or be it Mary Com, or the sponsors like Puma really invest in their in nurturing their giving them infrastructure, giving the app support they want to become world stars, right? So you need to become a change agent. Nothing beats a platform like sports to give back to the society. So the ninth point is inclusivity. You need to involve everyone, every single stakeholder, using your sports sponsorship. The us is highlighted here because only when we congregate together, it becomes a large movement. An example which I want to give you is the 2018 campaign for ADHM, the Atal Delhi Half Marathon. We have brainstormed and identified how do we create a large movement across the country using running or using walking. We created an app called Pass the Torch. The whole movement was titled Pass the Torch, and it was called Airtel Pass the Torch. We created an app. Every time when you run or walk a single kilometer, 1 kilometer, you can pass the torch to another person. You can inspire someone else to get up from their bed and uh, run or walk or do some exercise, etc. And if you clock a kilometer, you pass the torch. That's how the whole objective has been. And we created the whole movement and connected the whole India as one. So here, what we have done is after the creating the app, Bharti Foundation through Bharti is the parent company of Airtel. Every single kilometer you clock, Bharti has invested money uh, to educate the people or to educate the students from rural places about the magic of internet. They helped various schools in the rural Maharashtra and various other states to create large classrooms with computers, tablets, etc. To educate about the power of Google, the power of internet, how the positivity of the usage of internet, etc. The whole campaign has reached out to 52 million people, and we again, Pass the Torch was the trending for that 4 months of campaign by Airtel. So this particular campaign, Pass the Torch, has connected the whole of running community, nation came as a whole, even the fence sitters, not just about running. People who are walking in the park, they download the app, and after 1 kilometer, they pass the torch to their father, mother, family, the uncle, auntie in the neighborhood. It was a great philanthropy example because every kilometer you clock, Bharti Foundation has invested certain money to, as I mentioned, to penetrate the internet usage in the rural parts of the country. It was a large marketing campaign. The event has a positive rub-off from this particular campaign of Pass the Torch. The brand Airtel had, various spike in their social trends, and of course, it largely connected the Airtel circle offices across the country, from Kanyakumari to Kerala to Calcutta to the western side of Bombay, Pune, etc. Communities and the employees came in as one, and supported the whole cause of Pass the Torch. Because every time you clock a kilometer, there's Bharti Foundation sitting and helping the hinterland of India to be using the internet, and which is the brand call for a brand like Airtel, because internet is what is about data and what their offerings are. The next question comes here. Question number 4. Uh, Now English Premier League don't have a title sponsor. They don't believe in the concept of title sponsor. Who was the previous title sponsor of English Premier League? You have 5 seconds. Time up, guys. The answer is Barclays. First of all, it was called Barclays Premier League. Now it became the English Premier League. So the answer is Barclays. Hope Zai ma'am is getting enough traction from the students. So moving on to the last point, which is about return on investment. Every rupee spent there, every rupee spent by a marketing manager or the marketing head need to have certain traction going back to the sales numbers of that particular company or the brand. So here it's not just about, of course, it's about the brand visibility and the brand amplification you do by means of print or TV, radio, digital promotions, and the employee engagement, customer. If it's a B2B company, your key customer communication, your emailers, your etc., your logo usage, etc. Everything plays a massive role in creating, identifying a value against a certain return on investment, in terms of viewership, etc. But you need to start measuring the intangible benefits of which is accrued out of the sponsorship. So for running, what we have done is, with the collaboration with SMG YouGov. Now they're called YouGov Sports. They are a London headquartered company, which who's the largest company in terms of media evaluation and sports evaluation from a return on investment point of view. Along with them, they have clients like Rolex, Emirates, FIFA, ICC, and so on and so forth. Uh, we have developed a full-blown methodology to identify or to put a value of the intangibles, like aspects like life meaning, self-esteem, prestige, the economic impact. How does a Tata Mumbai Marathon create an economic impact for the city of Mumbai? How many people are coming in? How many people are taking rooms here? How many people are using Uber and other taxi mode of transportation? How many are going and having a dine out in the so-called restaurants? How is it impacting the whole city as a whole? How it is impacting the tourism aspect of the city. So everything, we have identified a methodology to put a value basis 30 other parameters, and with this quadrants of points and aspects, we have created an intangible value for the property and for the sponsorship. So by far, this has been the 10 models of leveraging a sponsorship. One such example which I want to give is Emirates, one of the largest investor in sports. They have invested in almost all the sports which is happening across the world, be it soccer, golf, horse racing, cricket. The entire umpires. If you see the ICC panel of umpires and ICC matches, uh, the umpires are sponsored by Emirates, right? Tennis, various. You can see the best of the examples being the sponsorship on the net, the logo sponsorship on the nets, the baseball, the rugby, boat racing. So you name the sport, they have the presence there, right? So that's how you build an ecosystem around sport. And Emirates as a brand, or a Rolex as a brand, or Red Bull as a brand is built out of sports. That's the power of sports. And rightly so, the chief executive of Emirates have clearly mentioned the whole essence of sports is well articulated in this particular quote. We believe sponsorships are one of the best ways to connect with our passengers, their customers, right? They allow us to share and support their interest and build a closer relationship with them. That's how the sports is built, and the sponsorships are built, and the brands are built. Of course, they want to highlight the Emirates experience from their competitors. They want to build a larger, in-depth relationship with their fans. Hospitality is what Emirates stands for, right? Emotional connect with the passengers, and of course, connecting the world during the best of the tournaments they associate with. Uh, so summarizing the whole points here, you need to believe in the sports first of all. You need to create larger experiences. Amplification is not just 360 degrees, 365 days of storytelling. You need to have content buckets to have a connect with your fan base, with your customers, and only sponsorship. Your competition won't be having that opportunity to shout out loud. You need to bring in the technology to connect with the fan one to one, create micro moments, broadcaster, leverage them, use a live happening in Bombay, reaches out to a interland of Salem and Coimbatore, use the broadcaster in a very wise manner, invest in airtimes, invest in advertisements, create larger moments during the live, create larger mind space during the live. uh, of course, how you tap the community, social impact, as I mentioned, charity paradigm, how you need to give back to the society, the inclusivity factor. It's a collective measure to touch base your key customers, their employees, their families, and you create the best workplace, right? That's how you include everyone in that particular game. Of course, at the end of the day, it's about some numbers, where that particular marketing manager gains out of that particular sponsorship, and you need to invest double the amount the next year. So you need to have a proper ROI metrics at the end of every game, end of every season. So these are the ideal marketing mix which I want to touch upon throughout my whatever insights and knowledge I've gained in the last 3-4 years of my experience in sports and sports sponsorships. So the last question here, guys, before I end, uh, it seems to be a very easy question, but it's not. Question is, which is the first brand Sachin Tendulkar endorsed in a TV commercial? I repeat, in a TV commercial, the very first brand. Your time starts now. You have 10 seconds. The time starts now. Time up, guys. I know 90% of the audience would have answered Boost as their answer, but the right answer is Band-Aid. He has appeared for the first time in a commercial for the brand called Band-Aid. Boost was his first endorsement. After this Band-Aid particular commercial, Boost signed him as the brand ambassador for a very longish period of time. So that's my first questions. I hope we have 10 winners out of this 5 questions, and that's it from me. That's the power of sports, and sports is always for good. Be it a fan, be it for a sponsor, or be it for an athlete. Sports is here for good, and that's how we need to optimize the brand values. Thank you, guys. That's it from me. Over to Jai and rest of the team.
Thank you so much, Vipin sir. for the way about the 10 mantras that went on. I think it really helped students to grasp and understand what we're trying to tell them. And on this note, the platform for the students is open for that question and answer round. Students,
I
you
hope
can
I didn't
please
overshoot on the time part.
we will try and take a couple of them. One of which I already have is, so there's a question which says, if I want to work in a sponsorship department, what qualities a recruiter looks for? So is there anything in particular?
Can you come back on the question?
Yeah. So if I want to work in a sponsorship department, what qualities does a recruiter look for?
So sponsorship is mainly two factors. One is business development. You need to have really good skill sets on the sales front. You need to start with a cold call, meeting your potential customers, meeting the marketing managers, the initial calls, then the follow-up calls. You need to meet the top people there. Presentation skills, that's very important. Then after that you need to have large negotiation skills. You must be having a number which is the sponsorship amount, right? Then brands may come up with a negotiation, to reduce the number, to reduce that price sponsorship, etc. You need to have large negotiation skills and so on and so forth. And after closing a deal, you really need to have good client servicing skills. Closure is pretty much easy if you have enough credentials on board. If you have empirical evidences, you can sell it very easily. I mean, not very easily, but it's challenging. But if you have enough score on the board, you can sell a sponsorship. But to retain a client for 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, 20 years, it's really tough. So you need to really evolve with the brand by means of Airtel. When they signed for Airtel Delhi half marathon, they were in a starting stage of a brand, right? They were in a brand awareness mode. Now it's about performance and consideration for the brand. So they have gone through and evolved through all the phases of brand. So identify the phase of the brand objectives, customizing the solutions, creating enough engagement opportunities with the clients. You need to have all those skill set to identify and live through the client's life. People change, marketing managers change, but you need to live the expectation of the brand and give the best out of it. Then only the large scale, long term, bonding between a brand and a sports association happens.
Right.
So you need to have, to summarize it, you need to have good selling skills, client servicing skills, networking skills, and you need to be very positive in life.
No, now that you've mentioned, I think students can work towards working on these skills and try and improve them, or try and grab more experiences in these aspects to be learning more about it practically. I think they're going to get the direction right now. Okay.
Yeah. So one more point I want to add here is, of course, largely we learn out of textbooks about the concepts of selling, etc. But selling is more of practical in nature, and it just evolves. It seems to be tough in the first year, but it constantly evolves throughout your journey.
Right. So hopefully students have got their answers and they're going to work in the positive direction with a positive mind frame, like so mentioned. Okay. Talking about COVID, so during this COVID, what ideas would you recommend to get sponsors for a company? So, it's difficult.
So the life has changed around the COVID world, right? So it's not the same live sports opportunity which you can give for a fan base, because if it is for EPL or for a La Liga, you can see empty stadiums, and the opportunity here is to how do you connect with the larger fan base you have, which is spread out globally, and through virtual engagement, your fantasy leagues, your live moments, and how do you engage the fan who's watching you live in the hinterlands of India, or be it any country, or Africa, or for North America, etc. How do you engage with them and create sponsorship opportunities through this virtual world? You can have a fan-based game for that matter. Gamification of the entire opportunity during the live. The question answer which I have done. How do you create some kind of an engagement between your presentation, between your live, or after the match, before the match. can constantly engage with them and create opportunities for a brand to connect with your fan base, your customer base, using a social media, constantly engage with them. So use the virtual world, use the digital world to the best of your advantages.
Right, right. So,
And
so basically,
gamification through app and various other opportunities. Create that engaging moment for that particular fan using your digital
right,
world.
right. So basically, staying connected with your fan base and keeping them engaged throughout would be the key to invite sponsorships because you have got viewers,
Yeah. So
right?
to give you an example, in our running world, what we are coming up with is,
Yeah.
we have tested it in during Mumbai Marathon. It's called virtual marathon. You be in Bangalore, be
Yes.
in Calcutta, you can run a Tata Mumbai Marathon by using an app, and we track that
Yeah.
particular performance of yours, in terms of the timing, etc., the start and finish, and you can gratify by means of physical medal to be sent to them, e-gratification, various other bragging rights for them, etc., etc., the leaderboards, and
Right.
various other opportunity. You can create 100 opportunities using your virtual world, and have a one-to-one connect with that particular fan base.
Right, right. So, this brings me to another interest level of ours is what plans do you have for the upcoming Tata Mumbai Marathon? So, is there some concrete things you have in your
Yeah,
plans?
yeah. So as I mentioned, the virtual adaptation of the virtual avatar of Tata Mumbai Marathon will be continued.
Right,
Hopefully, I mean, so we are praying, and we are hoping that things come back to normalcy and we have a physical race happening. And at the same time, we will have the virtual marathon and the same categories of running, which is 10K, the dream run, maybe the half marathon, the full marathon, and people around the world. We don't have geographical limitation around the country, across the country. People can register for Tata Mumbai Marathon. If you can't travel to, we have travel restrictions, etc. in that particular month of January 2021, you can be part of the large movement called Tata Mumbai Marathon and run wherever you want, and you have hundreds of gratification happening, for you. So that's been guaranteed. But things are not in our hands. But we are hopeful that the things will come back to normalcy, and at the same time we'll have 50,000 people who can run physically on that particular day. But
on the
through the
same.
virtual marathon, we can reach out to another 2 lakh people or 3 lakh people. That's how our aim is, to reach out to far better audience, and reach out to everyone who can touch and feel Mumbai Marathon on that day.
Right, right. Uh, I know a few people who already registered for the virtual marathon and trying to get in. I think what you're trying to do is really improving the sports structure in India. So it's really
Yeah,
interesting to know that you're reaching
it's,
out
it's
from Mumbai now.
yeah, absolutely. Be it any sport for that matter, it's about the experiences you garner out of that particular sport. Be it distance running, be it NBA that's happening out of US, or be it in La Liga or English Premier League. Why people invest and take their time and watch late night matches. It's about your passion and connect, right? So when it's happening live there, your sponsor should better engage with them on a very one-to-one basis. As I mentioned during my presentation, you can have a communication in your local language. You can have a if you're identified your fan is based in Mumbai or Pune, you can have a communication happening in Marathi. Arsenal and Chelsea are great case studies of teams communicating with their local audience in their local language.
Right, right. So connecting to your fan is the key to most of the things that we're looking for. So one last question. We've gone through your presentation. We've spoken about the 10 mantras, but we're still going to ask you this about if you could share one success mantra for sports management students to success into the sports industry.
Can you repeat that question, please?
Yeah. So one success mantra or one message for the sports management students to success into the sports industry. So we know 10, but we now need to come down to one mantra.
Yeah, just like any athlete, any sports person for that matter, you start from zero, right? And sports by large is the largest or the biggest reality show in the world. It's all about being positive, right? So you need to have long enough perseverance, and perseverance is the key term there. You need to constantly invest back into sports, and you need to have the patience to have a long-term career. You should not give up initially. Pay you much, but if you are perseverant enough to be staying on the course, and like any athlete, you are not born as a star. You come into the game, you nurture, you keep practicing, you keep training. That's how, even a runner for that matter, you start from a 2 kilometer, then become a 5 kilometer runner, the 10 kilometer, then a half marathon, and then to a full marathon, and to ultra runner. It's an evolution of your your knowledge, your
Commitment.
commitment, and you need to give back to sports to understand it. You can give it away and say that sports is not giving me enough, or sports is not giving me the best I wanted. Eventually it will happen, but sports is growing in India. It's really growing in India as an industry. More and more people
Yes.
are in India in terms of sports, be it basketball, football. You need to invest a lot in the grassroots. You need to identify. You need to, as I mentioned in my first ever point, you need to believe in sports to garner the best out of it, and you need to have a larger or
Right.
a long-term goal than very short-term perspective.
Exactly. So staying committed and continuing with your hard work and your efforts, I
Yeah.
think one can reach where they wish to. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valued input and your time. We'll be having more such sessions which will help us learn about newer industries, connect to more people. And the next session will be on the same time on Tuesday, 20th July 2020 at 4:30 p.m. For further updates, you can follow the social media handles. Before we say a goodbye, we would like to thank Dr. Mrs. Nancy Jose for her vision and opening the doors to a rising career in sports management to the youth. We wish to express our sincere gratitude to Mr. Vipin Nambiar. We'd also like to thank the entire team of NASM, VGU, SGSU, and NAME to make this happen. A big thanks to all the attendees of today's webinar for their kind presence and for sending in some great questions. We wish you all the very best for your career. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.